vision. And I know at times it feels like time is moving slow. So you stumble across that old photo that shows how much they've grown. When the past comes flashing back, you feel sad. That those days are long gone when all they wanted was dead. So talk to me, hold them tight, look at them out of your sight. Teach them to do what's right and not what other people might. Let them know that the most important things don't have a price, and your presence is the only thing they'll ever get.
By last night, it's self-evident to us what needs to happen.
Hey Owen, how are things going?
Just the thought of reminiscing
My president without his face.
We don't need no reason why. Better believe when we arrive, you'll see our flag fly. We identify with the five stripes, night, blue, red, and white. Like we light by the star that shines so low and bright. We hang high with a flame side to stop. FYI, you'll probably hear somebody singing after midnight. And don't be surprised we come alive under the moonlight. We make love.
But you have to throw away that.
And though we've been gone for so long, far from home, we so strong. My people never cease to amaze me. Hey, sabroso, yeah. Let me hear you go. Hey, sabroso, bailando. Come on, louder. Hey, sabroso, sabroso. The way that we change is more easy. We say chévere o vaya, then something's por la maceta. Mientras hay que coño cuando alguien molesta. Even the black blue boricuas we call negro or negro. All right, looks like it's about that time.
That's exciting.
For gentlemen, we want to hear, we want to see. Thank you so much.
This is John Santos right here. John Santos.
Is he singing a song with us today? I thought Bernie was singing a song with us. Don't you was my understanding? No, looks like he's not. Thank you very much. Nurses especially. Bless your hearts.
John Santos takes care. You can look up John Santos. Some people are like John Santos. Thank you so much. And don't forget to switch the containers out.
All right, let's give it up for John Santos and the Gorka Band and his friends. Yeah. You're awesome. You're awesome. So we're clearing up the stage, yes? You're awesome. Yes? Okay, so while we're cleaning up the stage, let's do some words. Nurses and everyone else there, all the nurses, all the nurses supporters. Yeah? And by the way, let me say, as I say in every stage beside the nurses are like we all agree with that? But so are you millennials and all of you other Bernie supporters who are working so hard in California. I love the fact that you never get discouraged in spite of the fact that they don't like to write about your successes and they try to act like we don't exist. You know what? We exist. So today, we were just over at the Visitor Center in Governor's Massachusetts. Strongly supported SB 562 and said he's going to be there with us all the way down the line.
Sorry, pardon me. Listen to our buttons, all kinds of buttons there.
Let me go through the logistics this morning. Well, first of all, I want to thank all the security and the staff.
Did you take a more bag? Thanks, buddy.
We need, we need productivity done, and we're doing that. We're doing that. So poll after poll is showing us how single payer, Medicare for all is what we want, and we want to give the people what they want, right? And Speaker Rendon using czar-like powers to hold up the assembly from above. What do we have there? All right, so we've got a single payer bill in California, we've got a single payer bill nationally for Bernie, right?
Yeah.
We need you to help. Okay, here's how you can help. Right now, everybody's got some sort of device because you keep taking selfies, I know that. We need you to tell your senator to sign on as a supporter of the Medicare for All Act. So take out your phone. Drop the sign, take out your phone. By the way, your sign, your sign is Bernie himself, but the press can't see over your sign, so we want the press to be able to see Bernie, okay? All right. So when Bernie comes out, pull up your signs, but then put them back on, okay? All right, so take out your phones, text M4A, it's on there, which is Medicare for All, that's M4A. And the number is backspace, 69866. That's 69866. And tell your senator to sign on as a supporter to the Medicare for All Act. Tell them that is in the forever. Anything else? Okay? Alright, so Bernie's here. But while we're waiting for Bernie to be here, I thought we'd have a little fun, right? So, can we bring up who I consider to be like one of the coolest women in America and also the best Bernie surrogate? Nina Turner. Okay, so Nina, yeah, we're gonna talk about right? Everybody in? Everybody in? Everybody in? Nobody out. Beautiful. Now, Rad, you know, the nurses and everybody that wants to be a nurse. And sometimes the fight may seem discouraging, but in the words of the great President Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until... Yeah, do it again. Yeah, we'll do that one more. So I think it's a good fight. About time. All right. It always seems impossible until... 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 Shut up. Yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. What are you feeling? What else? I'm feeling that. Are we feeling something? Yeah, we're feeling something. We feeling something? Okay. Right. Now when we say feel, you say burn. Feel. Burn. Feel. Burn. Feel. Burn. Feel. Burn. When we say feel, you say burn. Feel. Burn. Feel. Burn. Feel. Burn. Feel. Burn. Feel. Feel. We do something else, right? Come on now, y'all. I know the millennials got that. Come on, baby boomers and Generation X. Come on now. Don't let the millennials outdo us. Yeah. We say feel, you say burn. Feel. 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 So you want to talk to some Nina? Right? You want to get a few words? Yeah, this is a magnificent moment for all of us. And many of you who have been in the trenches, I want you to know that the race is not given to the swift or to the strong, but to he or she who endures to the end. This is an endurance race, and anybody who does not believe that Medicare for all can be done needs to get out of the way of the folks who do believe that it can be done. So this is our moment. And I want us to give a shout out not only to our senator, but also to Congressman Conyers, who's been introducing this bill since 2003 in the House of Representatives. Because everybody needs a partner, because it takes teamwork to make the dream work. And we are the team. And so we owe a great deal of gratitude to all of you who have been in the trenches, but to the man who has had the courage to stand on the front lines in the Congress, which is Senator Bernie Sanders. All the love. Now Rad is going to introduce him, and he's going to talk about his vision as he's always talked about his vision, but he's always said that this is not about him, but this is about us. And that in the United States of America, baby, if we can go to the moon, we can have Medicare for all. If we can abolish slavery, we can have Medicare for all. If women can get the right to vote, baby, we can have Medicare for all. So it always seems impossible until it is done. In all the great social movements in this country, we know that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, for all the inhumanity, all of the inequity in this country, by far the greatest is not having adequate health care. But this is an idea whose time has come, and we are the ones to get it done. People power will win today. People power. So whose house? Whose house? People's house. Whose house? People's house. Whose house? The people's house. Whose house? The people's house. All right, Brad, do your thing, baby. Do your thing. Nina Turner. All right, pretty serious times out there. You know, we've got kind of on the precipice of Armageddon. right? With our world leaders trying to out-macho each other as a leadership. Wake up and sit there on the West Coast and think, well, that's all that can happen. And then there's like all the suffering and all the pain. And then these people come along in our lives called nurses, called activists, called movement leaders, called Nina Turner, right? And they make such a difference. They make such a difference in our life, right? So I think we're all here. Messed up my speech, Senator. Oh, I'm going to just say Bernie Sanders is awesome. Bernie Sanders is a legend. Bernie Sanders gives us hope. And I also want to say that for the movement, Bernie Sanders is our leader. He is leading this country. He's a popular politician. He's the person who's making the difference. He's brought debate back to television. Can you imagine? We're debating on television now because of Bernie Sanders. On Monday, he'll be at CNN debating Graham Cassidy, and Bernie Sanders will debate Graham Cassidy to hold the line on the benefits we have, but he's also pushing to make sure that every person in America has the most comprehensive benefits. He's been our champion, and all of you Bernie supporters out there, and all of you nurses who've been down the line with Bernie, everything we said was true. He's never quit campaigning for the right thing. He started when he was young. He's been going at it ever since. He's never stopped. He went into the presidential campaign, and I said this to the press often, the difference between Bernie and a politician is for Bernie Sanders is a leader, right? He's leading this country. So there is everything, there's so much. I think that Bernie will say, come on, Sanders.
To do with Roseanne DeBarro. Let me begin by thanking Roseanne and by thanking the 185,000 members of the National Nurses United for inviting me to be with you today. But more importantly, nurses, let me thank you for what you do every single day. The nurses are the backbone of our healthcare system. They are there when we are born. They are there when we are sick. They are there when we are on our deathbeds. Thank you, nurses, for everything that you do for the American people. About National Nurses United. It is hard enough to do a difficult job, like being a nurse, going out there, doing all that you have to do, dealing with the emotional stress of seeing loved ones die and suffer. But what nurses understand is that for them to do the job they love and are trained to do, they understand they cannot function effectively in a dysfunctional healthcare system. How do you do your job well when people walk in the door and have no health insurance to pay for the therapy and the procedures and the medicine they need? And that is why the National Nurses United has been leading this country in the fight for a Medicare for all single-payer system. Thank you, nurses. It seems to me now that we have, in this pivotal moment in American history, two major tasks in front of us. First, we have got to beat back the reactionary agenda of the Trump administration. This is an agenda designed to benefit the billionaire class and to ignore the needs of the 99%. It is also an agenda which, in an unprecedented and ugly way, is trying to divide this nation up on the basis of the color of our skin, our sexual orientation, our religion, or the nation that we came from. And our message to the Trump administration is, you are not going to divide us up. We are going to stand together. We're going to take you on, and we're going to defeat you. And we tell Mr. Trump and his friends they are not going to take away the legal status of 800,000 young Americans. And we are telling Mr. Trump and the Republican leadership they are not going to give huge tax breaks to the 1% and then cut back on education, environmental protection, and the needs of our children. Today, the immediate crisis we face from Trump and the Republican leadership is another piece of horrific legislation that would throw 32 million Americans off of the health care they currently have. I want you all to think, get beyond politics for a moment, and think if today you are an American dealing with a life-threatening illness. Maybe you have cancer, maybe you have heart disease, maybe you have diabetes, and what keeps you alive is the health insurance that you currently have. How cruel, how immoral it is to say to those millions of Americans, we are going to take away that health insurance that keeps you alive. And we say to Mr. Trump and the Republican leadership, you are not going to allow thousands of Americans every single year to die unnecessarily. We're not going to let you pass that horrific legislation. Now, we defeated a Republican proposal that would have thrown 23 million Americans off of health care. We defeated a Republican proposal that would have thrown 22 million people off of health care, that would have thrown 16 million people off of health insurance. And now we are going to defeat another proposal which is even worse than the previous ones. Now, this particular proposal, the so-called Graham-Cassidy bill, would be especially devastating for those states like Vermont and California that have done the right thing by expanding Medicaid. In California alone, you would lose more than $55 billion in federal health care money over a 6-year period, more money than any other state. in the country. In this state alone, if you can believe it, just in California, over 4.5 million people would lose the health insurance they currently have. And in California and all across this country, if you are an older worker, you're 60 or 62 years of age, understand that if this legislation passes, your premiums are going to skyrocket. They're going to soar. And millions of older workers in this country, at a time when you need health insurance most, will not be able to afford that health insurance. Now, in the midst of all of that bad news, I am very happy to give you some very good news, and that is, as some of you may know, just a few hours ago, Senator John McCain of Arizona has just announced that he cannot, and I quote, in good conscience, vote for the Graham-Cassidy proposal. Thank you, John McCain. And John McCain has a conscience, and I wish very much that the rest of the Republican leadership had that conscience as well. I've known John for many, many years, and we have very fundamental political disagreements, but over the years, he has shown incredible courage, not only as a prisoner of war, but also as the co-author of the McCain-Feingold campaign finance law, which attempted to get a handle on one of the great crises we face, and that is billionaires buying elections. And John, of course, was one of the Republicans to vote against the last Republican bill and help defeat that. But even with Senator McCain's opposition, our struggle on this legislation is not over. And our job is to continue to make sure that the Republicans do not get the 50 votes they need, which plus the vice president's vote will give them a victory. So I beg of you, please, do everything you can. Get the word out all over this country to your friends to tell them that no Republican should vote for this disastrous bill, and if they do, they will pay a very heavy political price for that. And while we have got to wage an all-out battle to defeat this horrific legislation, we have also got to understand that in terms of health care, maintaining the status quo is just not good enough. Our job is not just to prevent tens of millions of Americans from being thrown off the health insurance they currently have. Our job is to join every other major country on earth and guarantee health care to all as a right, not a privilege. The time has come for a Medicare for all single-payer program, and I am proud to stand before you having introduced that legislation in the Senate with 16 co-sponsors. Together in saying that in this great country, health care is a right, not a privilege. Today we say that we are sick and tired, and the nurses know this better than anyone, of seeing people who are sick not able to go to the doctor or the nurse because they have no health insurance or the deductibles or co-payments are too high. Today, we begin the debate vital to the future of our economy as to why it is that in our country we are now spending almost twice as much per capita on health care as do the people of any other country. Why is it that we are spending in this dysfunctional healthcare system almost 18% of our GDP on healthcare, a number which, if we don't change the system, will only rise in the years to come? And today we say that the function of a rational healthcare system is not to make billions in profit for the drug companies and the insurance companies. The function of a rational healthcare system is to provide healthcare to all people when they need it, and not to argue with the insurance companies as to whether or not they are covered for the procedures that they pay for. Today we say to those families in California, Vermont, and all over this country who are spending $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a year on health insurance, that we know that this is an insane amount of money to be paying in order to protect your families. And we are here to tell you that under a Medicare for all single-payer system, the cost of health care for the average middle-class family will significantly decline, and that family will be much better off than under the current dysfunctional system. Now, my Republican friends will tell you that you may have to pay more in taxes, and depending on your income, that's true. But what they won't tell you is that you're no more going to have to pay that $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a year to the private insurance companies. And today we tell the drug companies, we are sick and tired of being ripped off by your greed. We are tired of having 1 out of 5 Americans under the age of 65 not being able to afford to purchase the prescription drugs their doctors prescribe. Can you imagine how crazy that is? And at the same time, the top 5 drug companies last year made $50 billion in profit. So we say to the drug companies, we are going to end your greed, and under Medicare for all, we're going to negotiate prices with the drug companies. And today we say to the small business community, get on board Medicare for all because it's going to benefit you substantially. Right now, all across this country, small businesses are spending an enormous amount of time and energy and money trying to figure out how they're going to provide cost-effective health care to their workers. Under a Medicare for all single-payer system, that worry is gone. All of your workers will have health care as a right. And today we say to millions of workers all across this country who are at jobs they would rather not be at, except for the fact they have decent health care on those jobs. Think about in America where everybody has health care as a right, and you can go out and start the businesses and do the jobs you love rather than staying in a job you don't want to be in. So health care for all and a Medicare single-payer system is not only good for patients, it is good for the business community as well. 52 years ago, as you all know, President Lyndon Johnson signed historic legislation that said that in the United States of America, if you are 65 or older, you will be guaranteed health care as a right. And that legislation, that Medicare legislation, has been enormously successful. Seniors in America are healthier and more secure by far than before the passage of that Medicare legislation. And today we say that Medicare for senior citizens has worked, and we want Medicare to work for every man, woman, and child in this country. And by the way, I say to seniors that Medicare today is a strong program. We intend to make it stronger by, for the first time, including coverage for dental care, hearing aids, and vision needs. The Affordable Care Act, I think as we all know, made significant improvements to our health care system.
Thanks, Obama!
It provided health insurance to 20 million Americans who did not have it. It did away with the obscenity of insurance companies denying care to people with pre-existing conditions. But we must be honest and acknowledge that with all the gains of the ACA, it has not gone far enough. 28 million Americans still have no health insurance, and many more are underinsured with high co-payments and high deductibles. And our job today is to say that we are going to have a health insurance that does away with all co-payments, all deductibles. Brothers and sisters, we understand that the fight for a Medicare for all single-payer system is not going to be easy. Last year, I was here in California in support of Proposition 61, a proposition that would have lowered drug costs in this state. The pharmaceutical industry spent $130 million to defeat that legislation in one state. If they spent $130 million in one state to defeat one referendum, think about what they're going to be spending all across this country to defeat a Medicare for all proposal. So our job is to understand that we're going to be taking on the drug companies, we're going to be taking on the insurance companies, companies, but you understand and I understand that when the American people stand up together, we're going to win this fight. Co-sponsors in the Senate and a whole lot of co-sponsors in the House. In addition, every poll that I have seen indicates that more and more Americans support a Medicare for all single Medicare program. What this struggle is about literally goes far beyond healthcare. It is a struggle about what this great nation stands for. It is a struggle about whether or not every working person in this country has health care as a right, or whether we allow insurance companies and drug companies to continue to rip us off. It is a struggle about whether Congress listens to the American people or listens to the billionaires who make huge sums of money off of the current system. So let me conclude by saying this. This is the year 2017. For decades, great Americans from FDR to John F. Kennedy to others have talked about health care as a right. After decades of talk, now is the time to get it done. So I want to thank our sisters and brothers of the National Nurses United for helping us lead this effort. I want to thank people all across this country who are literally saying enough is enough, who are saying that it is an international embarrassment that we remain the only major country not to guarantee health care to all, who are saying that it is economically unsustainable for us to be spending $10,000 per person on health care. So our job now is to bring our people together. We're going to defeat this disastrous Graham Cassidy bill, and then we go on and pass Medicare for all.
Listen, it's like 1984, frightening non-stop war. one knows for sure. Might be someone from overseas, it might be the girl next door. With the loaded 44, you can't trust anyone anymore. Plus fear rules the globe short or short like never before. And everyone wants to blame someone when no one is keeping score. And Mother Earth pays the price cause now we drilling them to the core. And in politics you get rich up cause all of them are just more reasons. More and more, so they let the corporations treat the world just like they can restore. And everywhere they do business, they just all on the floor. They land, they spray, they beat up the life just like a mold store. And they seem to appear everywhere, before and after the war. And those with the government might be the first in line to be building offshore. Which construction conglomerates profiting because they got things on the ground floor. And they got the nerve to call that war, right? They wonder why we don't believe it. Just open your eyes and see the reason. Just what you want to believe it. It's the destruction of the Garden of Eden. No, they wonder why we don't believe it. Just open your eyes and see the reason. Trust, it's hard to do one of the season. It's the destruction of the Garden of Eden. Who's in the pockets of conglomerates today? It's hard to say, but there's a few who seem to never ever hear her name. And no matter what common sense or what the masses of people say, they go on and do what they want to do and they do it with no delay. And the Congress is in cahoots because they send troops to clear the way for those who will make a profit off of the murder and foul play. Lords of war who build and sell the weapons of death and dismay, make millions of dollars rebuilding when they help to blow away. For a few more greedy people to see a huge payday. And they make no secret of it, you can read a dossier. And they take no responsibility when the bullets go astray. No, not in the Middle East and not even the USA. All of the world's children who fall in victim, it is for you I pray. And those who are left behind to find a way out of this disarray. Bullets spray when children play and all they do is hit the floor. And they got the nerve to call that war. They wonder why we don't believe it. Just open your eyes, you'll see the reason. Trust, it's hard to do all of the season. It's the destruction of the Garden of Eden. No, they wonder why we don't believe it. Just open your eyes, you'll see the reason. Trust, it's hard to do all of the season. It's the destruction of the Garden of Eden. 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 No, they wonder why we don't believe it. Just open your eyes, you'll see the reason. Trust, it's hard to do another season. It's the destruction of the Garden of Eden. Who are the ones who claim the earth is their property, but treat her improperly and possibly take over the planet with the food monopoly? Now follow me. Scientists slowly modifying plant genes to produce proteins that will reproduce. Now what does that mean? You see, he who controls seeds controls the whole of humanity's needs. If they murder off all of the bees, the world could be brought to its knees. GMOs are causing a death, birth defects and disease, and the effects upon the planet are like a war no one believes. It's hard to see when they selling us food with a natural DNA, and they don't even have to label it so you really don't have a say. Science fiction up in your kitchen so we win it away. And it's in your baby cereal, and it's in your latte, and it's in your fish fillet, even in your Perrier. Even the oceans are talking, not joking, it's a scary, scary day. The richest, wickedest men always seem to give their way, and they parlay for more in this so-called war. And they wonder why we don't believe it. Just open your eyes, you'll see the reason. Trust, it's not to do one of the season. It's the destruction of the Garden of Eden. No, they wonder why we don't believe it. Just open your eyes, you'll see the reason. Trust, it's not to do one of the season. It's the Thank you very much.
Yeah, you heard it.
My sister, Destiny Wu.
I just gonna say what kind of work you do. My brother.
San Francisco sometimes I feel like every morning finds me morning. I'm alone and crying the blues. I'm so tired of paying my dues. Every morning finds me morning. Every evening I'm moaning. Cause of all the trouble I've seen. Life's a losing gamble to me. Everybody knows I'm moaning. Lord, I've spent many days and nights alone in my dreams. And I prayed, I literally prayed, God it will come and bring me relief. Everybody knows I'm moaning. I'm alone and crying the blues. I'm so tired of paying my dues. Everybody knows I'm moaning. I've seen. Life's a losing gamble for me. Everybody knows I'm lonely. Every evening I'm lonely. Cause of all the trouble we see. Life's a losing gamble to me. Everybody knows I'm lonely. Everybody knows I'm lonely. Everybody knows I'm lonely.
The one and only Destiny Wu. Pedro Pastrana de Puerto Rico en 4. David Flores on drums. Saul Sierra on bass. Mr. Marco Díaz on piano.
John Santos.
Thank you so much, nurses. Thank you to all of you supporting Bernie Sanders. Muchas gracias. Especially want to thank Xochitl Cortez from the Nurses Association for coordinating everything. Muchas gracias, Xochitl. Thank you all.